Howdy, converted man here. Okay, apologetics loves to just go in circles. You have Ray Comfort go around, ask people nonsensical questions. Have you ever lied? Have you ever stolen? Whatever. And he finds people that will interview him, heavily edits the interviews, and then puts them on his channel in declaration that he's won, and of course leaves out the ones where he didn't do so well. Unless he can't, where you can see his tactic break down. You have numerous examples of these sort of things. Asking people questions that cannot be answered, switching the burden of proof, etc. And then apologetics went on, usually you have the philosophical arguments that people present, even though they've been thoroughly debunked by logic and science, and they don't seem to care. And then people go presup, essentially, just asserting that they're right and everybody else is wrong, and that you have to prove that logic has a foundation or whatever other burden switching things. There it is again. It's the burden switching. And then you just go back to the start. People on the, ask people, in this case, mall, until you find somebody that's willing to talk to you, and have perhaps edit their responses, or just find somebody and ask questions that and not bother to really understand the answer. So this guy did that. Yeah. Okay, so prove God doesn't exist, win $500. Great. All right, well, first, before I do anything else, prove you have $500 to give me. And he started at 300. That didn't, that didn't seem to get much traction. He starts also with a crazy looking person like this dude. Like, this guy came from Mortal Kombat, I guess. And yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're setting the bar real low here, And then he goes into a store. Of course, the people are working. They don't want to be bothered by this stupidity. And then he goes off and, he tries to get somebody. He finally gets this guy, and he hooks him in with the $500. Now, this guy here says he doesn't believe, and you don't, you do believe, and that's it. So he's saying that belief is something he is essentially, your opinion, and he's unable to prove a belief or a lack of belief. Now, the other nitwit here that's asking the question doesn't understand that. Also, it was interesting that when the guy said, I can see a trash can, he's trying to say empirical evidence. I need empirical evidence for things to believe in them. The guy says, oh, can you see air? Of course. No, but I breathe it in. Well, in other words, I need a test that is repeatable in order to know that something is a thing. And we can, by the way, see oxygen. We just need special devices. So I said, look, I need empirical evidence and or a repeatable test. One of those two things to know that a thing is a thing. Do you, person that's asking the question, have that? If not, then why should anybody believe it? Because what would you have then to prove that it exists? Because it is not my burden to prove that it doesn't. But that's the trap. That's the question. That's the bait. Also, prove you got $500 to give me, because I don't even believe that. I don't think that you do have $500. I don't think you have $300 to give away. So prove that first to me. Here, Moshi Karim. And the guy in the masks asks, do you think that the trash can exists? And the questioner says, oh, I'm a solvelist. I don't believe anything exists. Okay. So nothing exists. Can you prove that nothing exists, or is that a belief? If it's true that you believe that nothing exists, does my fist exist? Does your face exist? What happens when those two encounter each other? Do you feel pain? Yes or no? Or is the pain something that actually exists or doesn't exist? Now, you say, well, it doesn't exist. I feel it, but it doesn't exist. I'm like, well, what are you feeling then? If it's not a thing. So, true hard solipsism is completely incoherent. And I think the questioner knows that. But he didn't want to support any burden of proof on his side about anything. So he's just going to pretend to be a solipsist. And I do say pretend to be a sophist because I don't believe you that you are, considering that your thing is Muslim. So I doubt very much that you are a sophist. Anyways, so he continues to harass this poor man, asking him, what do you mean by this belief thing? And the guy, this is not something that he expected to deal with today. And, he's attempting to explain to him that belief statements are not subject to proof claims, which is different from what the guy is asking for. He's asking to be proven there's not a God. Okay, I said, of course, prove goblins don't exist, win 5 million, prove orcs don't exist, and win 10 million, prove dragons don't exist, and win 15 million. And on this video itself, I have labeled it to prove Moshi Karim does not exist for, trillions of dollars. Because why not? Nobody can do that. You can't prove that sort of thing. You say, well, okay, maybe those first three you could, but not the last one. No, you can't do any of them, period. You can only prove localized claims that are provable. You cannot prove unlocalized claims to be false. You can prove localized claims to be false, but only if they're subject to having that done. So if you say, okay, in this mall right now, you see that store second cup. Now, of course, he's a sophist, so he says, well, that doesn't really exist. Okay. All right, well, I guess we're done. Then if nothing really exists, God doesn't exist, give me my money, right? Or you're saying you just don't believe it exists, so even if I prove it, it wouldn't work anyways because you would just say that a proof isn't real and so doesn't count. So you have another way out of getting out of paying out, don't you? Swarmy guy. Okay, any rate. But let's say that the guy wasn't a complete and total jerk and liar that is asking questions and actually was honest enough to say, yeah, that second cup shop exists. It's there, or at least I can see it. I said, great. Now, if I said there is a large dinosaur outside of that second cup shop, do you see that large dinosaur? No. Neither do I. Okay. It doesn't exist. How do we know it doesn't exist? Well, okay, we can't see it. That's one thing. So maybe it's invisible. Let's go over there to that second cup shop because I'm claiming the dinosaur is right outside of it, standing right outside of it, against the glass there. And so then, well, we should be able to touch it because normally you can touch dinosaurs. Of course, dinosaurs are dead now, so all we would have is the bones, and so maybe I need to clarify the claim that it's actually a living dinosaur. So we should hear it breathing as well. We should feel the breath of it. We should see the floor give way to its weight. But we don't see or feel or hear any of those things. And I say, okay, I think that that's pretty good to say that there is no large dinosaur out here because now the claim had to shift to say the only way I can continue to assert that the large dinosaur is here is to change the attributes of that large dinosaur. I have to say it's invisible because it's obvious there's no large dinosaur there. I point to it and say, see, it's not there. Done. What more do you want? That's and now you can say, well, the dinosaur is invisible, but then of course you have to prove that claim, and that burden would be upon you to do so. So you can prove a localized claim, but only if the other person understands that by proof you mean reasoned argumentation and logic. Okay, there's a large dinosaur outside of the second cup shop. No, there isn't. Proof that there isn't, you point to it. See, there's nothing here. That's it. That's all I can do is show you that it isn't. I can't show you. I can't do anything other to prove that something isn't than to simply show you that something isn't. That's the proof that it's not there. Okay. But if it's not a localized claim, if it's a claim like there is a giant dinosaur in the mall, somewhere in the mall, perhaps hiding in the mall, and said, okay, well, now I want to prove that's not true. Well, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because I'd have to be able to show every place in the mall simultaneously to show that it's nowhere to be found, of course. And if it's hiding, perhaps it's just really good at hiding. And so I have to show all the places that it might be hiding, and also what is the height of the very large dinosaur, because that could give us some more clues to know where to look. And we could scan for heat and and see if we could find something large that way. And upon seeing that there is nothing in the entire mall, well, there you go. We've basically shown that it isn't. It was a lot harder though. Okay, now what if we said nowhere in the world there is a large dinosaur? Well, okay, now we have the Herculean task of showing everywhere in the entire world all at the same time and demonstrating that it's not there, including under the water, in the air. Yeah, now you're getting to the point where maybe somehow you could do that. You say, well, okay, now I'm going to extend it nowhere in the solar system. Well, you pretty much put it at the boundaries of ability at this point. All right, so we have to launch probes to every single planet and moon and distribute ways to look at every single area of all those places. Okay, but if you had enough money and time and energy, I guess you could maybe do that. And you go, okay, universe. In the entire universe, there are no large dinosaurs. Forget it. We don't have the technology. Can't be done. I can't show you that that isn't, because it's no longer a localized claim. It is now a universal claim. And I cannot show that the thing is not, because it is simply beyond the ability of me to demonstrate that something isn't. Okay? But that doesn't mean that that something is either. Being unable to prove a universal negative is just how things work. It is just a truth that we must contend with. There are things that you can say aren't true by virtue of tautology. Yin Yang brings up one. That certain things mean certain things. So that's a tautology. So a bachelor means a certain thing, married means a certain thing, and those words, when put together, are no longer coherent. You cannot have a married bachelor. It is impossibility. But you say, well, prove that that is the case. The only thing you do is say, well, that is how we've defined the words, and that is how we've agreed upon to use these words. And the other person could say, well, but by married, I actually mean this other thing, and by bachelor, I mean this other thing. So there you go. And of course, then it gets down to that sort of insanity that we can encounter from people and language, which might be why some people are having issue with language in other areas that I've spoken on. Any rate, so you can't do it. Nobody can do it anywhere. It cannot be done to disprove or to prove a universal negative. A localized negative, you might be able to demonstrate to some degree, but it's going to be difficult. And also, the other person's going to have to agree that things actually exist for you to prove anything. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere. And like I said, I think that the guy, by calling himself a true sophist, or just say a sophist, is giving himself a complete out to anything that anyone offers. I would say, look, wait a minute, you say you don't believe in anything. So even if I offered proof, you wouldn't believe in it, so I would never get the money. So it's not a fair quiz. I'm never going to get the money. Now, I don't think you have the money. I would say prove you have the money. And say, wait a minute, is the money real? If you think the money's not real, then it wouldn't matter if I have it. So you might as well give it to me, right? Unless you actually value the money. But how can you value something that you don't believe in? Yeah. It's ridiculous. This type of burden switching is all too common in apologetics. In fact, Yin Yang was encountering a Christian apologist who I've responded to, who is switching the burden. What is your foundation for logic? That's not my burden. That's your burden. I don't need to demonstrate anything at all. That's not. I make no claims to know what the foundation of anything is. I don't have to do that. I did it anyways, or attempted to do it anyways, because I'm bored, But he keeps trying to switch the burden and say, well, you have to do this. No. You have to prove your claim. Then I'll do something. I'll respond to that claim. Okay? I'm not going to prove anything. It's not my burden. I don't need to do that. You need to prove your case in full, because why should I be interested? It is the car salesman trying to sell a car and not providing paperwork for it, not providing tracking details on it, or information, not giving you anything that can confirm that it's really real, what he's saying. And so you start to begin to be skeptical of him, as you should be. Can a God type attributes of a square circle exist? Well, if you have the word square mean what we come to agree upon it meaning, and the word circle be what we agree upon meaning, those being certain Euclidean shapes in geometry, no, you can't. But I guess the person could say that the square and the circle actually are the same thing, and thus you could have those attributes. Or I guess they could say, well, squares and circles don't really exist, so sure, anything could have those attributes, because ultimately nothing exists, which also means God doesn't exist. But that's okay, because he just wants to I don't know. He wants to make a video. At the end of the day, he's proven absolutely nothing in this video, other than he was able to find one person that had, couldn't do what he's asking, which is impossible to do. Hey, how about this for an idea, Moshi? Why not, contact some YouTubers, get some atheists, get some skeptics, talk to them. Oh, they might be better prepared with philosophy and argumentation, huh? So, yeah, you're not gonna do that. And then you have an email. I wonder if I email you and challenge you to prove that you don't exist for 3 trillion plus whatever it was I put as the thing, dollars, that you would do that. Yeah, I think what did I say? 99 trillion. That's right. I was going to write 3 trillion, but I'm like, that's not ridiculous enough. So anyways, and so wait a minute. A localized proof that something isn't should be simple, remarkably simple. to prove that he isn't. Well, but he is. So I'm asking a completely broken question, right? Well, remember, the guy's a solveless. He doesn't think that anything exists. So if that is correct, and he really is a solveless, then he should have some sort of reasoning that would get there. Unless, of course, he believes that without reason. And wouldn't reason itself also not exist under solipsism? Which means that solipsism also doesn't exist. So nothing exists at all. You're not really saying anything because there is no thing to say, which means you don't exist, which means you win the money, but since the money isn't real, you get nothing. If you could actually demonstrate that, which you can't since all demonstrations are also not real. Good luck with that madness. What is the top of up? How many holes does it take to fill the Albert Hall? How many angels can dance on the tip of a pen? Yeah. I mean, these are, but this is what apologetics comes to, is the full circle of, I've run out of actual things to say. I'll just make other people say things and trying to do that. Oh, look, he's got what happened before the Big Bang, completely something that nobody could have answered. If he could submit it to a scientifically peer-reviewed paper. How could God allow hell to exist? Well, I don't know that there's a God. I don't know that there's a hell, but I'd love to see your bad explanation of this. Sure, let's do that. Why not?
All right, how can God allow hell to exist? All right, guys, pretend that this is a bad guy. Now, bad guy killed 100,000 people. Depending on where you are, humans can only do one of two things. Either A, they send him to prison for life, or they give him the death penalty. That'd be fair, guys. Like, think about it. If we gave him the death penalty, one life versus 100,000, so 100,000 souls.
Well, I don't know. Fair, justice, these are complicated notions. Very complicated. You're trying to make them very simple, but they're not. I don't see that killing that one person is just. I view justice in a different way. I don't think that it you can't kill him a 1,000, 100,000 times. You can only kill them once, and so it's not equal. You're not getting anybody back. You're not changing anything. You're declaring that the price of killing is a life, but that'd be true of no matter how many lives the person took, right? So if you kill anybody deliberately, if you murder them, you will then your price is your life, and most people want to continue to live, so it's supposedly an effective barrier, but yet people do it anyways. So then that kind of questions, well, maybe it's not a good enough penalty. Going to jail for life also doesn't seem to be a good enough penalty because people still do it, but people do it probably believing they'll get away with it, or they're not thinking about the consequences in the moment. Anyways, it's very complicated. Keep going though.
For one life, like, that doesn't seem fair to me. Because we're human, that's all we can do. God, however, can do more. See, God can burn him alive, give him fresh skin, and keep doing that 100,000 times. Like that.
Wow, that's pretty sadistic, pretty messed up. But yeah, so I don't know why you would burn them. Like, why not kill them the way that they were killing the other people? Wouldn't that be more equal? Like, say that they shot them each with a gun, right? Well, then the same gun that he used would be used, or whatever. Say he shot the first one with a gun, stabbed the next one, and used a blow dryer to kill the third one. I don't know how you do that. You got to be creative, right? So then why would God just do all those things to him? Or even better, have those people allowed to kill that person over, with the way that they were killed. Now, maybe they don't want to kill him. Maybe they're, look, I don't like that he killed me, but, I'm still here, so whatever, But true, more equal treatment would be to have them killed the way that, have him killed the way that he killed, right? So he could do that, sure, yeah, okay.
That seems more fair. So yeah, I hope there's hell, because without hell, it just wouldn't be fair, to be honest. Let me reverse the question. How would it be fair if there was a life without hell, without consequences to actions?
Well, but you kind of missed the point with hell. Is it's not just the 100,000 times, it's forever. The person never is stopped from getting tortured. They keep being tortured another 100,000 times and another 100,000 times, and after that they keep getting tortured over and over again. So that's not fair. If that's your, I don't know, So you've strawmanned what hell is, I guess, or maybe this is your version of hell. They get tortured for that amount of time, uh, to equal out whatever they did, and then I guess because you didn't clarify what happens next, I guess that they just stop existing or something. Uh, Anyway, so life without hell. Well, life has consequences. I don't think hell is a coherent consequence. So we don't need it as a consequence. Um, and whether life is fair or not also doesn't prove anything else to be true or false. The way that reality is changes nothing about some other part of reality. So you're just saying, but isn't it unfair that life has no consequences? Yeah, and so what? Deal with it.
All right. How can God
And
allow?
that's it. I hate these shorts. I really do. I hate that YouTube put shorts because it lets people be so lazy. He did more asking strangers. That's all he said. Okay, he did do a atheist. Wow, very short. Is there like? It's from Omegle. Oh, come on, man. Do a real, actual discussion with somebody. And then they did it again. Prove God doesn't exist and win the 1,000. Okay, so you went down in money. I don't believe you have the 1,000. I don't think yeah. And if you do, you're not going to give it to anybody. He builds his empire, right? Yeah, that's what you want. You want the views. You want the subs. You're not here to prove really anything. All right, so that didn't surprise me a bit. It's not logical or coherent, and I'd wait the guy to go ahead and email me and prove he doesn't exist or any other thing doesn't exist. And when he does that, yeah, I'll give him that money. So which I totally have. Yeah, yeah. I have 3 trillion laying around. Yeah. Now you might ask me to prove that. Well, I mean that's abundantly simple to prove. Thanks for watching. No, wait. What? You actually want me to prove it? Oh, well. Okay. First, you have to understand. Either one, I have the money, or two, lobsters do not exist. Well, we all know lobsters exist, so clearly I have the money. That's the proof. There's no flaws in that logic at all. I didn't put the wrong way in the syllogism. I'm awesome. Can't prove I'm not. Thanks for watching or listening or